Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video, and we are on, this is the new Mammoth. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, yes, the TLC 3 update is out. It's awesome. The Mammoth has received huge upgrades, like enormous. They combat some of the crazy things of Ark, and I'll talk about that in just a second. First off, I just want you to look at the actual visual changes. The Mammoth used to be a very round, sort of chunky looking character. Now it's much sleeker. It has a much more standard actual Mammoth appeal to it. It's got a really cool saddle with 2 seats on it, and in general it just looks a lot better. You can see there's the 2 back there as well. So what does it do that is so overpowered? Now let's talk about it. It received a bunch of little updates. Now, first and foremost, it has a little bit of a, if you want to call it the sweep, I think is technically what it's called, but it will gather thatch and berries for you. It'll gather a little bit of wood, but not a whole heck of a lot. But it does gather an insane amount of thatch. Yes, I know a lot of people do have access to a huge amount of thatch with their grinders and so on and so forth, but if you need some quick thatch, this is a great way to go out and get it. Just take him out to the swamp and you can get a crazy amount. Now, alternatively, he does also have a stomp. Now, obviously the stomp is a little bit different than what you would imagine it to be, but basically what you're going to go ahead and do is, you can see him do it right there. Spacebar, kind of like his jump, is going to be his stomp technique. He's 3 different animations. He can lift his right, left, or both feet at the same time, and this is how they gather wood. Now, they gather a crazy amount of wood because it's also an AoE attack. This is 5 trees, just so you can see that right there. And that's, what, 1,000 wood? That's crazy. So he gathers a ton of wood, 324 from 1 tree, 500, and this is on 1x. There's no levels put into this guy. So it's just bonkers what he's able to do. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and jack up the stamina. I'll show you why in a second here. We're going to put that about 5k. And I'm just going to crank up that melee. Now, what I also want you to notice is the wood on the right-hand side has huge reduction in weight. 75% reduction in weight. That's 12.5 per stack. You can carry a load of wood on these mammoths now. And when you increase their melee damage, you get a stupid amount of wood per tree. Look at that. We're getting about 300 to 400 per tree. That's like Therizino range, and you can put this guy on a raft and carry at reduced. It's the amount of stuff that you're going to be able to do with this thing is bonkers. I mean, look at this. I'm on a beach. I'm on a beach, and I've already gotten 3,000 wood. That is absolutely bonkers. So that's pretty cool. So that's kind of, his new abilities to get stuff. Now, where does he become overpowered for PvP? And that's what we're going to talk about. So we talked about the sweep. And that's kind of like his little, that move right there. And that's how he does his little sweep attack. And then his stomp, which is the spacebar attack, just so you can see it there. But this is where it's really neat. So just like the Karkanos, this guy, you can see it right here. He is able to pick up dinosaurs and humans, I think small and mediums technically, and then he can launch them. And it's a see ya later kind of situation. Can't quite launch him as far as the Karkanos can, but he does have the ability to pick things up and hold them in his grasp, as far as I'm aware, forever. So this thing will hold on to that, whatever it happens to be, as long as you want him to, and he can just launch them. So let's say you have a player harassing you, you just walk up, grab them, throw them into your base, game over, you win. Now, obviously, you've got the foot stomp, you've got the grab attack, you've got the swipe attack. So this thing has huge, just massive updates, which is so cool because I love this creature. Now, there are even more things. Now, if you go ahead and hit the C, or the tertiary attack, he'll do a roar. Now, that roar might not seem like it's super overpowered, however, it's got some crazy stuff. It is a huge area of effect debuff that takes the damage that anything that's not an ally to you and reduces it. Now, I'm pretty sure it's like a 1/3 reduction, so it's a huge reduction in damage output, and you'll notice it based on that little red glow over their head. So you see that red glow? Yeah, that means that they are currently reduced their damage output to you. So in a PvP fight, if you can reduce the amount of damage you're taking, GG. Because if you just have one of these guys behind like the normal Giganotosaurus fights, if you have a normal Giga fights and you have Mammoths on one side and not Mammoths on the other, one side is going to be taking reduced damage because they can't deal as much. That's crazy, which is something that's pretty neat, and that's you know, kind of funky. Now another quick thing, if you actually take your feet and put them in water after this, he will basically get rid. You'll see it right here. He'll spray you with water. The next one that he has available, obviously. And what will happen is he's going to basically take any fire away from you. He'll give you some hydration with that, and then he'll actually reduce your temperature as well. You can see that water gets sprayed back right there. And kind of funky how that works. I don't know why they added that, but maybe just to get rid of the fire effect for dragon or something like that. I don't know. So that's pretty cool. So if you use this, I'm pretty sure it works. There's no limit on the size of the dino that it affects. You could bring these into boss fights and have bosses do reduced damage to you, which is a pretty nice little thing to have if you have somebody on the back of this. Now, another really cool thing about the Mammoth that a lot of people just totally forget about, you can go ahead and go to passenger seats and then board the drum platform. Now, you see it on the back. Yes, this is a two-seater. Yes, you can see the range. There it is right there. As long as I'm drumming, I can see it. Now, another kind of unique thing, when we're doing this, you can go ahead and whistle him, so you don't need anyone to drive. You can just use your comma attack to get him in certain areas and kind of move your pack around, and he will kind of move for you, and you can kind of just play the drums. Now, what do the drums do? Now, the drum itself allows you to basically maintain an area of effect buff that allows everything, which I believe is dinos and players, to have stamina regeneration, and UDs can no longer fear them. So a lot of battles, people will use UDs to fear things and cause that reduction. This will get rid of that. Now, all you have to do is hit, right there, you see it, the click button for PC, which would be a trigger on a console, and you just keep pushing it inside of that little tiny green section, and you will continue to have this AoE buff. Now, as long as you are clicking, it will continue to play this, but the second you mess it up, it will stop. See that right there? As soon as I mess it up, it'll stop. But it does have a little bit of a time-based effect on it, so it's not like something that goes away instantly. You have a little bit of time when you are nearby. Now, if you are really good at what you do, you can actually place this and use this. I'll go ahead and like whistle my attack button, and you can go ahead and whistle and move around as the only person on this once you get good with it. And you can kind of travel alone, giving your team that buff as you go, as long as you're willing to whistle move to this target. Now, it's a really interesting thing because it basically is going to give your entire army inside of this a huge advantage, but I think that it's going to be some interesting stuff for PvP purposes. I just don't know how long it's going to take people to figure it out. So that's that. So that is the backside of this. They are crazy. There's some pretty cool things. Obviously, you got the trunk grab, the stomp, that trumpet ability, the ability to even, this is going to sound weird, to get you covered in water and wet, the tusk sweep, and then that war drum. There's just a really neat thing that they've added. I just don't know. I think that there's the Mammoth is suddenly relevant again because you can see it gathers a ton of wood, it gathers a ton of thatch, they can carry a ton of resources, they gather berries, they pretty much do everything an early game team needs to do. They are great for small to mid-sized tribes because solo, I'm going out right now, solo dolo, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of wood, which is about 3,000 wood in less than 30 seconds. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that. So that's not too shabby. These things are really great. I think that larger tribes aren't going to find as much use for them except for the PvP aspects, but small tribes are going to be able to use the crap out of these mammoths just because of that ability to slam the ground, so on and so forth, and all kinds of special abilities. So anyways, hopefully this video does help you out. I will keep kind of looking at some of the other things that TLC has released and doing some analyticals on them. That's not even a word, but I'm going to make it a word. And that's kind of that. So the Mammoth, I really encourage you to tame these things. They're really neat. There's going to be some awesome abilities that they have, especially if you get good with kind of whistling them to an area and then going from that way. they've already got some pretty strong stats. Like, this is base. You can get some pretty high healths, pretty high staminas, and really nice weights on the mammoths. So go ahead and use them as you wish, and hope this helps you out. And teach out.